The Powers Project.
Bree, Ronny, it's nice to have you guys here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation.
It's my pleasure. Well, I've discovered that Bree, who is an MMA fighter, this is her first interview.
Yep.
So when you become world champ, you have to come back.
That's right. That's right.
Definitely.
That's right.
And I say that laughingly, but I'm serious because I've heard some really good things about you and by people who are in the know. So it's it's a pleasure to have you here. So
Thank you for having me.
And Ronny, it's always a pleasure to have you here, young man.
Yes.
So you're an MMA fighter. What in the world possessed you to wake up one day and go, I think I want to be a fighter?
I don't know. I kind of been fighting all my life. So I was like, well, I was at a certain place where my mind wasn't right. So I always watched fights and stuff like that, but I never wanted to do it myself. But I was interested in the philosophy of it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll try boxing. And then once I did it, I couldn't last 15 minutes in a class. But I was like, yo, I love this. I want to really test myself. So I just kept going, and I just fell in love.
All right. So how old were you when you said I want to give this a go?
I think I was about 15 and a half, 16 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm 18 now.
You're just turned.
Just turned.
Wow. You got a lot of years ahead of you.
Yep.
That's a good thing. So you tried boxing, and what got you from boxing into where you are now?
Well, boxing, I was like, okay, well, I like throwing hands and stuff, but I just started watching UFC fights. Because at first I was just watching boxing matches, and I was like, whoa, I want to try this, because I knew it would be another challenge for me to do, right? So I just started, I think we was doing kicks and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'll try this, kickboxing. Did that, and I was like, all right, on to the next. I just want to learn more and more.
So you realize that Ronny's one of the premier trainers around here. How'd you get hooked up with him? By fate or chance or?
I kind of was a little bit, I took some of his classes, and I was actually scared of him. I was like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm a little scared of you. I don't know. So I was just sitting down one day, and he started talking to me. I was like, oh, you're talking to me? I didn't know what to do. I started talking to him. I was like, okay, he's not that scary. And we got together. I told him I wanted to be UFC champion of the world, and I was dead serious. And I just talked to him about it. He was probably like, okay, well, that's that. And then, we started training, and it's just been up from there.
So, Ronny, what's it like? So here's this young kid comes up to you, and, how many times have you heard people go, I want to be champ? But,
right.
Of course, saying they want to be and putting the work in to actually become that are two different things. So what do you think when she came to you and said, hey, I want to be UFC champ?
I was I was caught off guard because the conversation was, I was asking her questions so what you want to do in your life, what do you want to be and stuff, and then she flat out said that she wants to be UFC champion, and I was caught off guard. I was like, well,
yeah, that's not something you hear every day.
Yeah, I was like, I don't hear that. I was like, well, okay. I said, do you have a trainer to do that? She said no. I mean, at the time she was just doing Title Boxing Club cardio classes. And she was doing personal training with certain instructors there, holding mitts for her and all that stuff. But they didn't take it to the next step. But when I found out, that's when I told her, I was like, all right, I can train you. You want me to train you? I'll train you, And she was very disciplined. She showed up every day, never complained, never was late, never made any excuses. And those are the first things we all look at for serious people.
Right.
And we've been here ever since.
You're absolutely right, and I don't know what it is, and not to put men down because I am one, but
I agree with you.
Yeah, the truth is, I've trained women, and they're always that way. They just come in, they do their job, and they don't complain. And no matter how hard you push them, they take it. Men will start bitching right off the bat, like, it's too hot, it's too cold, I'm too tired, whatever. I was like, You remember Pinklin Thomas?
Yes.
Yeah, Pinklin Thomas, who used to be a heavyweight champion of the world.
Right.
Trained a couple of guys, and he said that was the biggest thing. He just couldn't get them to work. They didn't, they all want to be world champ, but none of them want to put the time in, And if anyone knew about being a champ, it was Pinklin Thomas, and even Mike Bell. Mike Bell refused to train people because he had dealt with so many people like that over the years who always say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that," and they don't want to put the work in. He's like, "I'm done with you. I'll just train my classes." So.
Yeah, I was at that point too. I didn't think I was going to train fighters anymore. I wasn't even looking to train fighters anymore because I was at that point too that I trained all these people, and they BS me for so many years, and nothing would never work out. And certain people will keep me away from their fighters, from showing them anything I know. There's a lot of politics involved in that. And I kind of gave up on it. I didn't want to do it anymore, And then I met Bree, and look where we're at now. Now I'm training a fighter. She's very disciplined.
That's the key right there, discipline. And women seem that when women make up their mind to say, "I want to be a fighter," they mean it, and they are become disciplined from that point on. Where guys just think, they don't know. I think they're talking out their,
Yeah, they're talking out their ass.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true. So Bree, you said you've been fighting your whole life. So what do you mean, by that?
Well, before I was born, my father was beating my mom, and actually he was beating her while she was pregnant with me. So I wasn't really supposed to be here, so I was technically fighting before I came out the womb.
Damn.
And then, he left, and then my mom, she left when I came home with her from the hospital. And it's just been a nonstop fight ever since, And my grandma took me in, she didn't have to do that, but she did. And, life was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't the best, but she made it the best, And it's just been hard, in school, going through all that when they have family trees and stuff. And it's like, oh, well, I have my grandma. It's it kind of been hard, and then I was dancing for a little bit too, so that kind of helped also. I was always active. I was dancing for about 12 years. I liked it at first, but it got to a point where it's just wearing and tearing me down. And you would think I'm fighting now, that's even worse, right? But I don't know, I just really enjoy it now. But I was dancing, tried basketball, and I had a lot of bad coaches. From dancing to basketball, it was really bad. And I think in order for any kind of sport, you have to be a good coach. It's so important to be a good coach. And I had really bad coaching. I stopped doing it. I went out to the streets after that. Wasn't really the best person, but I was always fighting for better, if that makes sense. I wasn't necessarily always doing it, but I wanted it.
Right.
And then, one day I went to Title, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this another shot. I'm going to try to find something I'm good at,
You got a champ right there. I'm going to tell you, everything she just said, that's what you need. And too often times, I'm going to go on a little spiel here. Too often times, people always use their childhood or their background to say, I don't have anything, or I can't do anything because of this, because of this, because of this. And this here is a girl who says, in spite of that, I'm still going to become something. And the thing is the reason why I say she's going to be a champ is because even when she said, I wasn't necessarily doing those things, I always knew I wanted to do better. Right. And that means you won't give up.
Exactly.
And I say this over and over again. You have not failed until you just give up. I don't care how many times you get knocked down, not to sound like a Rocky movie, but if you keep getting your ass back up, you're not defeated.
Exactly. Yep.
There was a fight I watched one time in the UFC with it was Aldo and some kid, and Aldo was just beating this boy to he had this hematoma that was on his head that was during the fight that popped out, his whole forehead was like this big blood thing, and he refused to quit. And if it had continued going, this kid would have beat him because Aldo was getting tired. You could tell he's throwing everything he can at this kid, and this kid would not stop. And I was like, that kid could be champ one day. But because that's what it takes. And so it's so great to hear you say that you understand that it's, you just keep going, and as long as it's what you want, you can achieve it. And I believe that.
Yep.
So That's excellent. So here she is. She's training now. What are some of the challenges that you see with, or even positives that you see with training females or a female compared to male fighters?
I don't understand the positive.
Well, one of the positives was you said she's disciplined.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, which you don't always get with male fighters, because they just automatically figure I'm a male, I could fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so you don't have that discipline, that work ethic that it takes
Right.
to get to that point. Obviously not the case with a lot of males, because there's a lot of guys out there who have that work ethic and can put the time
Right.
in. So what are some of the positives? Are there any negatives to training a female over a male, or are there any differences?
I don't see that much of a difference to it. No, I don't see any negatives with the women at all. I mean, they're just built warriors. You know what I mean? Women are warriors. That you know what I mean. So I haven't had anything negative issues. Almost every woman. She's not the only one I trained. I've trained before a couple of women before, and I never had any issues with them as far as a discipline and just wanting to learn and wanting to train and making no excuses. Like I said before, I have more issues with men.
Right.
You know, it's very rare. 1 out of 10 guys, maybe, that is just has a heart of a champion, that takes it serious, that's very disciplined and loyal.
Right.
I think loyalty is a big issue when it comes to men.
Yeah.
You know.
And not so much with women. Women tend to be much more loyal
Yeah.
than men. Yeah.
Loyal to if it's to a trainer or whatever that may be. I don't know about women as a group and together, but women be gossiping and fighting amongst each other.
Yeah. I mean,
That's different. But
is.
it's a big difference. There's a big difference, no doubt about it. I mean, I've enjoyed this process more than any other process I've had before. You know, so.
And what about you, Bree? Do you see any challenges being a female fighter in a male-dominated sport that you may not have if you're like maybe for instance just finding opponents or finding sparring partners or things like that? Is that a challenge for you?
Yeah, kind of, but because it's like, oh, you tell people, oh, yeah, I'm a fighter, and they're like, I mean, you're a girl, you probably like pull hair or something. And it's like, nah, like I throw hands, but honestly, personally, I like sparring men because it builds character. As long as I'm not knocked out or like seeing stars, I'm cool with it. Because, there might be a woman that hits just as hard, So I personally, I enjoy it.
Let me tell you, do you remember there's a woman that came into the gym several years ago, and she went by the name Lady Ram. She was ranked in the top 10 in women's boxing. She was one of those women that if a guy ever said something, she would knock them out. Like, there's no doubt in my mind she could knock out any guy who wasn't prepared, and even ones who are prepared. So, I mean, it's funny to me that men don't think that women have hands and can throw and hurt you, know.
Yeah.
And so, but with that being said, I didn't even think to ask this question, but now that you bring it up, because you said you enjoy sparring with men, you said as long as you're not knocked out, which I agree.
I think that goes for anybody.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Fallon Fox?
Fallon Fox. No.
Okay, she's she's an MMA fighter. I don't want to say UFC because I'm not sure she is in the UFC. However, she is a trans person. Right. So she used to be a man, trained as a man, had gone through puberty like a man.
Right.
Yeah.
And she ended up cracking the skull of her opponent.
Oh, I think I've heard of this. Yeah.
How do you feel as a biological woman? How do you feel? And this isn't to, and please, because
be honest.
I'm supportive of the trans community 100%. This is the one area, because the trans community as a whole are not behind this. They don't believe that trans women should compete against biological women, because they admit there's a difference. There's this extremist group out there, these activists, who most of them aren't even trans, who feel like they have to push this narrative and they put out all this false BS about, it's like, for instance, a trans woman has always been a biological woman. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. No. If she's always been a biological woman, why did she need to transition then? It's like that doesn't make a damn bit of sense.
Mentally, I mean, they're women, but physically,
right?
They got men's bones, muscle structure,
and they're trying to say, because they take hormones and stuff that they lose all that. I go, no, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. That's a complete lie. Yeah. Science says that's a complete lie, and you cannot train as a man and think, everything that you learned as a man, the skills that you got as a man, don't pay off later on. That they just kind of disappear because you took hormones.
Yeah.
So what? How do you feel about that? And would you ever fight somebody who was trans?
I don't know. I kind of have mixed emotions about it because personally, I already like fighting men. So, like,
she would take it as a challenge. Right. I bet you.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like at the same time, I respect what, they're like what they feel they are. I respect that 100%. And, I really don't see anything wrong with it. But there's, people that don't have the same opinion. There are people that don't want to fight, a transgender female. So it's like, it's kind of hard, I wouldn't mind. But
as her coach, what would you say?
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, see, I would agree. I get that she's a fighter, and she'd go, it's a challenge.
I mean, if it's if it's a street fight, she can win a street fight against a man. Right. She can win a street fight against a transgender. But when it comes to sport and rules, I mean, I don't agree with it. They're gonna have the advantage over a real woman. You know what I mean?
A biological woman.
Biological woman.
No. It's quite all right. Listen, I know there'll be, that's.
I didn't mean real, but biological woman.
The activists and the extremists out there, that's what they look for. They look for one word so they can just go, he said that I'm not a real woman. And then he's transphobic. It's like, no. Just
biological woman. Yeah. There's a difference. They have strength. They have the man strength.
They have the speed. They have the agility. They have the.
It's not fair.
Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah.
And I'm with Ronny. I would like.
If that's the case, then just do away with the whole woman versus woman and man versus man. It's just everybody wants to fight in the ring. It's not going to work.
It's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, because it's like, my defense better be on point.
Exactly.
So.
Well, and I made the point, and again, this could be said about men too, but I go, you could put LeBron James on all the hormones in the world, and if he went into the WNBA, there's nobody stopping him from scoring 1,000 points a day.
He would dunk on him all day long.
He could beat him by himself, probably, seriously.
Yeah.
And so it's ridiculous to say, because someone takes a few hormones, that all of a sudden, all their advantage is wiped away.
It's a fair point.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So... Well, I think I feel for them because I want them to have a place, to compete.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I think there are also those who take advantage of the situation. You are nothing in the world of powerlifting. You are nothing in the world of MMA. You are nothing in the world of grappling. And all of a sudden, and this is what debunks their whole theory that there's no advantage. I go, how can you have a man who wasn't even ranked in the top 100, probably not even in the top 500, and he comes in and he breaks world records right off the bat, and he owns world records now in the women's sport. That just goes to prove that you're full of it,
I would say the only way to fix the issue is have a transgender league.
Right, and
that's it.
And I agree with you, and because again, I want them to have a place to compete. But if you're being honest about it, that you have an unfair advantage, and if you're denying that, you're looking to win. How can you even feel good about winning something when it's like me, It's like me lying about my age and going, I'm only 12. I want to fight kids at 12.
It's true.
It is.
Yeah.
It's true.
So I feel 12. So I'm 12.
It's true.
But good. I mean, that's really a very good answer, and I'm glad to hear you say that. But I would be with Ronny. I wouldn't let you fight.
Yeah, I would.
So do you find it hard to find not just opponents, but do you find it hard because especially when you're good, because first off, you don't have the pool of people that men have, And then if they find out you're good, then they don't want to fight you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We've dealt with that already.
Have you?
Already. It's been rough. You know, it's very frustrating because it's like, I know when I first started sparring, you know, I sparred with people that were way better than me. And I love it because it literally teaches me how to, you know, defend myself for real against somebody who's like the same level as me. So it's kind of even, you know, I literally like, you know, I just got to get beat up to turn into the beast, to do what I have to do. So it really can be difficult finding opponents because you'll have people that'll lie and be like, oh, I've been training for 8 months. Turns out they can be training for 3 years.
Right.
And you don't know. So it gets rough, you know?
yeah, that's I don't understand why people have to do that. Like they have to lie, they have to cheat, they have to and I go, how can you feel good about what you're doing? If you know you have 3 years experience and somebody just came in and, you know, has less than 6 months and you win, do you really feel good about that win? I mean, honestly, do you feel like you've accomplished anything?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an ego thing.
It's an ego.
It is.
It's pride, you know? Yeah.
I guess you have that even in the women's division? You have ego and
Oh,
pride?
yeah, of course. Yeah, we went to, because we were, her very first, we went to a Taekwondo tournament. What was that place called? I forgot what
Estero?
it was called. Estero, Florida. Well, I didn't have a karate uniform for Bree, so I had to grab some old 1980s pads. And
Oh my.
she walked into the gym like she was from the 80s. Everybody else was 2021
They
gear.
just looking at us like
They knew we didn't. They knew we didn't belong there.
Ralph Macchio is your coach.
Dude. They knew we didn't belong there.
Yeah, they were
staring at her.
It was bad.
And then when it came for her to fight, they had picked a kid to fight her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it came to fight, they picked some other person to fight the kid, and they were skipping over her. Nobody wanted to fight her. So it took like almost a half hour to find somebody to fight her. They found a female black belt, to fight her, and we were so happy. I made a mistake. I was like, Bree, don't kill her. You know, don't hurt her. You know what I mean? Because I knew this girl wasn't no competition with Bree.
Right.
So Bree, they went, and it was funny as hell because when Bree was getting ready to fight, the girl went, hi-ya! Like, she threw like a war cry, like loud as hell. And Bree turned around and looked at me. I was like,
I would never forget that.
I was like, Bree, she want to fight your ass. You better get ready. So the first round was pretty close. And then the second round, Bree knocked the girl down and everything. And then they gave the fight to the other girl, both rounds to the other girl. So I knew they were going to cheat. I already knew it already. I told Bree, I was like, don't be, surprised. We're in somebody else's town. We don't know these people. They're looking at us like we're crazy. I can see the instructors gathering around talking about us. You know what I mean? They looking at me funny, looking at Bree funny. It's just,
even at Chick-fil-A, like completely unrelated, they was looking at us crazy.
Yeah,
like.
We didn't belong there. They knew we didn't belong there. But she did very good. I did it on purpose because I'm a Jeet Kune Do instructor. My martial art. We're supposed to adapt to anything. It can be Taekwondo, boxing, all the martial arts. We're supposed to be able to adapt. So what do? I throw her into a Taekwondo tournament where only legs and maybe punches to the body are used. We went by exactly their rules, okay? But we used our Jeet Kune Do philosophy into that, and it worked because we know it'll work. We know it'll adapt. So she did very good, and I wanted to see how she reacts to competition. So what happens is you got two types of fighters. You got practice fighters, you got real fighters, right? The practice fighter does real good in training, but when it's time to actually compete, what happens? They're gone. You're like, what's up with this guy, So she showed me that she can fight, that she wasn't afraid of losing. No matter, she was in there to have fight and have fun. And that's what I saw. So it was a good experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
we was up since 3, 4 in the
oh
morning.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
So I was running off of fumes.
Yeah. She was so tired, but it was very frustrating to see people not wanting her to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was frustrating to me because I was like 20 seconds away from saying, give me my money back and we're leaving.
Right.
If you want nobody can fight, I said, we're just here to have fun and compete. We're not here to kill anybody. You know what I mean? But luckily, they found somebody and she ended up sparring before we left and got our money back. But,
exactly, yeah.
All right, two questions, but one is going to be about Jeet Kune Do, so in case I forget, remind me. I'm going to talk about Jeet Kune Do. But, Bree, what do you feel like when right before a fight? Do you get butterflies in your stomach? Are you hyped up? Are you relaxed? 'Cause I'm one of those guys, like, my biggest problem is when I'm doing sport is I realize it's a sport, so I don't get all hyped up.
Yeah.
And so I go into cage like David used to always, like, I'd be like, I'm half asleep because I'm not excited, because I'm like, to me it's like being in the, just sparring with somebody, because it's a sport. Because the worst thing's going to happen is you're going to get me an arm bar or something and I'm going to tap. That's it. My life isn't on the line. This isn't like a street fight,
Right.
So I was always calm and relaxed, probably too calm and relaxed. Are you like that, or do you get butterflies? Do you get nervous, or?
The only emotion I was really feeling was happiness. I was just happy. Like, it's so weird, but it's like
so cool.
So in the moment, it's just like, wow, like, I want this, I like it. Yeah, it was happiness.
There you go.
Happiness.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
Well, she had her Muay Thai fight a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
She had a Muay Thai fight in Daytona. She lost by decision, but it was very close. And once again, when you go in somebody's backyard,
right,
you got to finish them,
right?
So lots of people see the fight. They say it was very close, But once again, we saw that she's a fighter. She ran up the ramp. She got in the ring. She wasn't nervous. She was ready to go and fight. You know what I mean? But I was more nervous for her.
Yeah.
Because when I fight, when I used to compete, I had a lot of nerves built up. But when I got in front of the man to fight, those nerves were gone. I was like, we're gonna fight now. You know what I mean? But I was extremely nervous. I had butterflies in my stomach. I was like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah, he was
gonna walk out. We're walking out like, oh my God, this is real. This is happening. We trained very hard, a whole year and a half for that moment. You know what I mean? And she did very good, man. She got a lot of respect. People came up to her and said, told her that she had a good fight. Some of the trainers that train her for the fight too, they looked at me. They're like, "Yeah, she's the real deal, man. She can fight. We ain't got nothing worry about nothing else anymore after this, So.
All right. So you mentioned that you're a Jeet Kune Do instructor, which is, of course, the martial art form that Bruce Lee created.
Correct.
And so this is the martial art form that you're teaching Bree, because it is about adapting to all forms of martial arts and just taking the best of everything and disposing of the nonsense that's not necessary.
Basically, yeah.
We've seen Jeet Kune Do in the UFC before. We've seen it most notably with Anderson Silva and Machado. Even though they never mentioned they were doing Jeet Kune Do. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that here's two world champs who use Jeet Kune Do and yet won't speak about it and won't tell anyone that's what they're doing?
It's true. The majority of fighters probably studied up on Bruce Lee, read his book, and probably may have trained with a couple of Jeet Kune Do instructors maybe. But I think it just has to do with just the respect, maybe hurting the feelings of their old trainers that taught them stuff. You know what I mean? Because a lot of trainers get jealous, man.
Yes, they do.
If your boxing trainer trained you for 15 years and you were pretty good, and then you went to another instructor who taught you JKD, how to have JKD into boxing, and you went into a higher level, the trainer that taught you before is going to get jealous and going to hurt his feelings and blah blah blah, and it goes south from there. So I think it's one of the reasons why. And two, JKD right now, is a kind of like a laughing stock a little bit. It's not, people aren't taking it serious the way they used to take it serious.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's because we have a lot of people who claim that they're Jeet Kune Do instructors, or they claim that they know the way of Jeet Kune Do, or just a lot of false prophets out there, basically, just dragging the name down to the ground. There are certain fighters that say they did Jeet Kune Do, right? They trained in it, and when they went to the UFC, I didn't see nothing that was Jeet Kune Do. And some people go, well, Ronny, what do you mean? What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? How do you know if they're doing Jeet Kune Do now? Oh, you'll know.
Oh, yeah.
The way they move.
If you train, if you train, you'll know in a heartbeat.
Right away.
Yeah.
Right away.
It's funny because people who don't train in Jeet Kune Do won't notice it.
They won't notice it at all. And I just think the Jeet Kune Do community, I hate to sound, I'm not trying to bring them all down, but they haven't evolved. I think they're still stuck in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Still doing the same old trap, still doing the same old Jun Fan, Jeet Kune Do, going back and forth. They haven't kept up with the times. So, nowadays you have to look at it like this. Every American, right, in the United States, average American knows MMA.
Right.
Mixed martial art. So they know how to take you down to the ground. They know how to apply a simple choking technique or any simple submission on you. They know how to do certain things, very average things. So if you know average MMA, you walk into a Jeet Kune Do school and you walk into the middle of them doing trapping, you're gonna be like, this doesn't work. This is funny to me. I'll take that guy to the ground and choke him out.
Right.
Right? So I think that's the reason why, a lot of MMA fighters don't give Jeet Kune Do respect, because it's more like a side joke, almost like a side joke nowadays. And hopefully those type of name bashes, so hopefully it's going to change one day.
I think one of the things that might hurt it as well is the fact that Jeet Kune Do tends to be more of a thinking man's martial art.
Right.
And unfortunately, thinking men aren't always men of action. And so when push comes to shove, most of them, they can learn technique, but when it comes time to apply that technique in a real life situation, they're like, thanks, but no thanks, know? And so, it's sort of like,
I don't remember the correct amount, but I remember reading a Bruce Lee quote saying that 1 out of 10,000 guys with no Jeet Kune Do can learn Jeet Kune Do. 1 out of 10,000.
Right.
But that was in the 70s. So now the times are different. Everybody, like I told you, every average American knows MMA. So times are different. So I could say 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 guys can actually get and understand and apply Jeet Kune Do to fighting.
And would you say that it's not just about learning technique, because it's about adapting to whatever situation you're in and what works for you? And that's one of the things most martial art forms don't get. The way you fight, the way you fight, the way I fight, all three of them are going to be different, because we're different bodies, we're different types of fighters, we have different, strengths and different weaknesses. So, and that's what Jeet Kune Do, what the beauty of it is that it adapts to each fighter to be what it needs to be for you.
Right.
But do you think that that part of the issue with it is that you have to learn the mentality of Jeet Kune Do? It's not just about certain movements or certain techniques and go, oh, this is how I trap, this is how I set up a submission. It's you have to have a mental strength that used to be in Jeet Kune Do, that I don't see there anymore.
They did away with the philosophy.
Yes.
All right.
Why?
And you could see pictures of Bruce Lee writing a book speaking about philosophy, but in a martial art way to his students. You know what I mean? They did away with the philosophy because they don't understand the philosophy.
And that's a shame, because I find Bruce Lee to be one of the greatest philosophers of our time. I mean, seriously, when you listen to the things he said, I think his philosophy was even more poignant than his fighting skills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he applied his Jeet Kune Do, so he studied on different philosophers like Alan Watts, Christian Moita, these different philosophers, and he took bits and pieces of cool stuff that they said and he liked, and he put it into his Jeet Kune Do. Just like he looked at different martial arts styles, took bits and pieces and put it into his Jeet Kune Do. So he used it for his everyday life. Now, these days, all Jeet Kune Do practitioners are doing now is just working on techniques. That's it. But they're not applying, and they're not bringing the philosophy or the even spiritual side of Jeet Kune Do into fighting. So it's unbalanced. It's unbalanced now. So
is that something that you can appreciate, Bree, at 18 years of age? Can you appreciate the spiritual side or the philosophical side of Jeet Kune Do as well as the martial art form itself?
Oh yeah, definitely, because fighting is not just physical. You have to have the right state of mind, and not just for fighting, but in life. I totally think that you definitely need to understand the philosophy before you do any fighting or anything, because you have to understand it. It's like saying, okay, well, I'm gonna get this toy from the dollar store, and I see what it looks like on the outside, but I'm gonna throw away the instructions and then try to put it together myself. That's
such a great analogy. Are you sure you're only 18?
Yeah, I got an old soul though. But.
Yeah. Very wise for 18-year-olds, honestly. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. It's just that most 18-year-olds I know don't know how to wipe their butt. So.
Oh yeah, it's true. I mean, I didn't become like get into spirituality or philosophy until probably my late 20s.
Exactly. That's and then I joke about 18-year-olds. I know I don't know many, but I do see that the younger generation, they are learning faster. To be honest, and to give them a fair shake, they learn things much faster than we did. You learn things much faster than I did, and it just seems to continue that way, which is good because we have an 18-year-old young lady here who's miles ahead of where I was when I was 18.
Where was Kurt when he was 18?
I had my head up my ass. I don't know. Slightest clue, I would have been like, what is she talking about? So you told Ronny, I want to be UFC champ.
Yep.
Did you understand what that meant when you said that? I mean, I already know the answer, but do you know what that takes, and do you mean that?
Yes. I know it's a whole lot of sacrifice, a whole lot of wear and tear, but, it's something that, I don't know, I just crave. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I know I want it,
Right. I need to hook her up with Fredia Gibbs. I had Fredia Gibbs on my show.
She is very inspiring.
Yeah,
she's... Well, Bree's the one that sent me that link.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, that's when I sent
Thank you, because I had her on
My
the
pleasure.
show, and she was great. I loved her. I was, how the hell did I never hear of her, honestly?
I know.
And I think it's because I was in Germany during the time.
I never heard of her either.
Really?
I'm surprised they didn't make a movie about her.
They should make a movie about her. But
Yeah.
the one thing I got from Fredia is that she believed in herself.
Yes.
She believed that she was the baddest woman on there. When the mother said, "You're the baddest woman on the earth."
But remember, the uncle believed in her.
Oh yeah, the uncle.
The uncle, when she was being bullied, he brought her in and brought that confidence out of her.
Yeah,
exactly.
Said you can't run from this your whole life. And, it's like, and that's all it takes is like. It takes one or two people in your life to give you the support and to give you the courage that and encouragement that you need, and and because we all have support systems. None of us have ever been successful without some sort of support system. I don't care who they are and what they say. And so, with that being said, your belief in yourself is going to go a long way. It's going to take you a long way because you like Fredia, you have to believe you are world champ and you will be world champ. I don't doubt that.
Yeah, it's definitely believing because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you. So you have to do it for yourself, especially if you want it.
Right.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, we had a conversation a few days ago, remember, and I was saying that I'm coming to realize more and more how important martial arts or Jeet Kune Do is important to other people, not just me. You know what I mean? Because you don't realize in what ways you touch them. Because I don't go around asking those type of questions to people. So how did I help you?
Yeah.
How did I save your life? I don't do that. I do it because this is what I love doing. I don't expect nothing in return. Let's say it like that.
Right.
I don't expect even a thank you sometimes. I don't expect that. She'll tell you. I feel weird when people are saying thank you to me.
Yeah.
I just put my head down like, all right.
You look like you want to run away in the box. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, okay.
It's funny because people who often who help others all the time, they have a hard time accepting any type of compliment or appreciation. It's just like, okay, I'm just doing my job.
Exactly. No, it's because
we love it.
Right.
We love it.
And that's I think the joy of it is that's where you get your joy is because you love what you do. You love seeing people make progress or do better because of something that you helped them with. You don't need them to tell you. You see it, and that's and that's what brings you the joy. So, having Ronny as your coach and somebody who supports you and is behind you, and knowing how important is that to you to know that there's a man who's like 100% believes in you, just like you believe in yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, it's important because me personally, I never had anybody other than my grandma, my brothers, sisters. I never had somebody outside of that, outside of family, to really be there for me. So it's it helps a lot because good coaching, like I said before, it just takes one good coach to change somebody's life, and that's exactly what he did.
You made a good point earlier too. There are a lot of bad coaches in every sport, and it's unfortunate because, some people just get get a bad coach or get 3 bad coaches, or and then they just give up because they know there's nothing they can do. And until you find a good one, one who will support you and encourage you and have your back and believe in you.
Exactly.
And also know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. You don't want nobody who's like some airhead.
That's very important.
I have seen way too many people. Listen,
I see it all the time.
I've seen people who are personal trainers trying to teach people how to box, and they don't know the first damn thing about boxing. And I just go, honestly, you're stealing this person's money.
Yeah.
You're stealing their money.
Yeah.
But and that's why it's so important to people out there. If you're looking for a personal trainer, if you're looking for a coach, I don't know, like how honest. Yeah, I mean, how do you go and find? How do you know that this person's good? Because they're going to know more than you. So you think anybody knows more than you has got to be good. And so, how do you find the really good ones? And I think that's the challenge for most people.
Luck sometimes,
and
luck and fate.
Yeah.
Fortunately, some people just can't find those good coaches. It happens a lot. Yeah. But honestly, I feel like you would just know. Like, especially if you had a bad experience before, you would know off the bat, like, okay, this person's energy is completely different. Yeah. So maybe he's somewhat better, she's somewhat better, and just give it a try.
That's a good point.
I teach her the Jeet Kune Do philosophy because I brought in, about 3 different trainers and instructors to spar her and to teach them what they know. So one of them came in, was teaching her Muay Thai stuff, knees. The other one came in and showed her how to do Muay Thai clinching. Every one of them had something to show. One of them is a fighter right now. He's an MMA fighter, Andre the Hammer. Big shout out to EJ and shout out to Santana for coming out. And shout out to Alex Hernandez, who's a Cuban trainer, has a lot of knowledge and everything, boxing, kickboxing, strength and conditioning. We brought a team together. We did a fight camp. These guys came out and sparred her. They didn't hold back. They took it to her, and they put her to hell. And we knew after that she can go through anything. We did it on purpose. We got to test her before she gets in that ring. We got to know if she's willing to go through hell and back. You know what I mean? And that's what we did. We pushed her hard as we can push her, and she did pass the test. We knew we didn't care who they put in the ring. We didn't care what experience they had. We knew that girl didn't fight nobody like us. That girl did not have a team like us. They didn't have fighters like us, our mentality. And so with that Jeet Kune Do philosophy, or just taking what's useful, throwing away what's useless, creating your own, it works. So we created this whole nice team, man, of good guys. These guys aren't no bullshitters. I'm not going to let no bullshit guy come into our group and mess everything. I'm not going to let nobody negative come into our group and mess it all up. I'm too old for that mess. I don't have no more time for that. I'll kick them out in a heartbeat. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it worked. It worked, man. That JKD philosophy worked.
Excellent. So, all right. So, Bree, how many fights have you had so far?
I don't know if I should call like the Taekwondo tournament a fight.
Nah, we'll just say one. She had one. One
Muay
Thai.
Yeah. All right. So when does she get in the? When is she going to start doing MMA fighting? We're in the cage.
Well, we want to, because she's injured right now. She hurt her shoulder for the last. We missed like 3 fights because of her shoulder. Right. But once her shoulder is better and everything, I want her to do at least 3 or 4 more Muay Thai fights, a couple of boxing matches, and then we'll slowly start getting to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then start doing MMA.
Yeah. So how's your ground?
I did a little bit when I hurt my shoulder, actually. Because, I wasn't putting my whole body into it. It was just my arm. But actually, I kind of like it,
I think she's a natural, because when she gets into clinches with a couple of guys, Muay Thai clinching, and they're wrestling her around, she's able to hold her own. So to me, that's a sign that she can wrestle. And I know she'll pick up jiu-jitsu pretty fast.
Yeah. The only thing is that I just want, like, when I do transition to MMA, okay, I got the stand up, okay, but I want to work on the ground, because I feel like, I don't know, like the ground, any little thing that you like miss, it can cost you,
Oh yeah.
So it's like you got to be a little bit careful with that. But for the little bit of groundwork that I was doing for a little bit with EJ, I enjoed it.
Yeah, she picked it up.
I enjoyed it.
I know that fans aren't a big, they're not fans of the grappling, because they don't understand it. They miss the intricacies that come with submission grappling or with jiu-jitsu. And so unless there's blood and they're throwing fists or
they
whatever,
love that.
that's what they love. But the game is won on the ground most of the time. If you get them on the ground, that's where you either make it or break it. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name was famous for that? Gracie. Hoist Gracie.
Yeah.
Hoist Gracie before the UFC was the UFC, before there were rules that applied like weight classes and time limits and stuff like that. Hoist would just outlast these guys who were so much bigger and stronger than him, and he would just wait for them to make one little mistake, and as soon as they did, bam, he would have them tapping out. Yeah, exactly.
It was like a boa constrictor.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's like nowadays. There's obviously time limits and weight classes and things of that nature. So, and that not only that, if you're not tapping the guy out like within the first 30 seconds to a minute, they stand you up or whatever. So
exactly.
You don't have that kind of game anymore like you used to. But so you want to become UFC champ? Do you have a vision in your head how you're going to get there? Have you and Ronny come up with a plan and say this is the path we're taking and this is how we're going to get there? Because that's so important that you see clearly that path. Now, if you need to, like we all do, we have a certain path where we go, okay, this is my plan, but sometimes that plan requires changes, and you adapt. Like Jeet Kune Do, you adapt to those changes. You go, okay, we thought we're going here, but this is a better route, so let's go here. Right. So, do you guys have a plan, like how she's going to reach that championship yet?
I told her before that I would like for her to try out for the Tough show, Women's Tough, to fly down to Las Vegas and try out and get on the show and see if she can win that contract, a UFC contract. But there's always ways to get in. If you really want to get in somewhere, if you want to be a UFC fighter, you'll get your chance, your opportunity. It's what you do with it. You know what I mean? But that's one of the plans that we're going to try to do.
When's that show?
They're doing a men. They brought it back this year. They're doing a men's one, so I'm sure the next one will be women.
Right.
But it's every year. They do it every year.
Do they? I know they used to. I didn't even know they did.
It stopped in like 2018, but they brought it back.
Oh, they brought it back. So, but it was always men. I never seen one with.
They have one women's. That's where that Thug Rose came from.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was one of the best. Yeah.
So, do they do women and men each year, or do they alternate them every other year?
I think they alternate them.
I think they alternate too.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I think that's one of our plans. Or just do amateur matches and let her win a belt in an amateur, whatever fight league we have out there for amateurs. And after that, then start moving up to professional and find out whether she's going to go to PFL or UFC or Bellator or whatever we can get into first.
Honestly,
to get that name out.
Just to take over, to get out, like my name out, JKD out, what we do. Exactly what we was talking about earlier, Like a lot of people, they laugh at JKD guys and JKD people, We just want to show them, like, look, this isn't all that it is, it's for you, So it's not one style, it's no style. You work for you. And I think a lot of people don't understand that, So if we can get this name out there, people start recognizing us, we can do seminars, we can do so much.
Well, try to save Bruce Lee's name, man.
Well, then the instructors are going to have to step their game up, because if you guys, and I think that's one of the issues. Like, you go and you become world champion, you say, I do Jeet Kune Do.
Oof. Yeah.
Now all those instructors who suck are going to benefit from the fact that you do Jeet Kune Do.
Exactly. So I got to be careful with my words.
Right.
Well, I'll make sure, because I'm already planning to do an illustrated book on new JKD stuff, like new techniques or some more evolved techniques, movement, and new videos too. I'm gonna start doing that, because at first I didn't want to get into this arena of politics. You know what I mean? I didn't want to get in there because it's a waste of time. You can read it from the comments on Facebook, on YouTube. You can read all the back and forth. Even the own JKD guys in the community chats talk bad-mouthing each other, putting each other down, hating on each other all day long. Everybody's Bruce Lee. They think they're Bruce Lee. It's just a whole bunch of nonsense, really. You know what I mean? And right now, it's because, Bruce Lee, when he was creating Jeet Kune Do, remember we talked about he was being challenged. He ain't back up from nobody.
Right.
And he even challenged people.
Yeah.
Right? He was making people who done kung fu for hundreds and thousands of years or whatever look like make their stuff look like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they didn't like that. You know what I mean?
No, they didn't.
He didn't like it at all. So sometimes he got challenged and he fought for what he believed in. And I think we forgot about that as JKD practitioners. We can't just talk that talk. We got to walk that walk. We have to prove that it's real, that it exists. We got to stop making excuses. Oh, boxing has rules, so I can't do it. I'm limited.
No.
Then you ain't good at boxing.
Right.
I can't kickbox. We are not allowed to throw finger jabs to the eyes and all that. But you're not a good kickboxer.
Right.
It's the same thing goes with jiu-jitsu. But another thing too is like there's no such thing as Jeet Kune Do boxing. There's no such thing as Jeet Kune Do jiu-jitsu or Jeet Kune Do kickboxing. That doesn't exist. Kickboxing is kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, and boxing is boxing.
Right.
Exactly.
Jeet Kune Do is you as the individual using the philosophy into combative sports, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said before, we'll know if you know Jeet Kune Do by just looking at you and the way you move. We're going to tell right away. We're going to tell right away. But we got to start taking this more serious as far as like the Jeet Kune Do instructors. We got to stop playing these games now, all right? We got to, because they're killing the name. They're killing Bruce Lee's name, and it's becoming a laughingstock now from MMA people, any martial art. They're just, Wing Chun people talking junk and all this other stuff. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want to go to war with every martial art, but I'm not afraid to.
Right.
Basically, I'm gonna defend Jeet Kune Do, but if Jeet Kune Do doesn't want to defend me, we're gonna have even worse problems because they need to understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
It's serious now. It's serious.
And it should. You're right. It is. I mean, it's when people look at, like you said, the name of Bruce Lee and look at Jeet Kune Do, and it's become a laughingstock the way Steven Seagal became a laughingstock.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be,
It shouldn't be, man.
It's not the same thing, and it's just it's ridiculous. But
yeah,
I think normally I wait until after the show, and I sit down and I write out the description about you and everything and about what the show is about, and I write the title out. I think I already have the title. The title is going to be, "Is Jeet Kune Do dead?" Bree says, "Hell no." And she's going to prove it.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's only a couple ways to prove it. Through sports,
Right.
movies. You have to get a platform in front of a world that everybody can see it. That's the only way to bring it to life, and bring it back to bring it to the point where it should have been. Because I think we're still stuck in 70s and 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to be honest. And people aren't going to agree with me. They're not going to agree with me.
Oh, of course not.
They're going to find every excuse in the book to tell me that we have to do all the old shit from the 70s and 80s and call it Jeet Kune Do and stick to that. But that's not what Bruce Lee said.
That's right. He didn't.
He didn't say that. And I remember quote for quote what he told Dan DeSanto. Jeet Kune Do is going to be different in 1969. It's going to be different in 1970, 71. And he kept on going up.
Because it evolves.
It evolved.
Exactly,
Right.
yep.
And that's the thing. These instructors don't want to evolve. They know what they know. That's what they want to teach. And they don't want to continue to grow the way Jeet Kune Do was meant to continue to grow as things progress.
Right. Because they can't do it.
Yeah.
Or they're too comfortable. I feel like when people are too comfortable, they don't want to be uncomfortable. Being comfortable, you can't grow.
Dan, this girl's not 18. There's no way. She's absolutely right.
What I'm very thankful for meeting her, she made my Jeet Kune Do 20, 30 times better. My training 20 times better. Because at that point, I wasn't sparring. I wasn't practicing that much Jeet Kune Do. I was teaching here every now and then, but to people who weren't as disciplined as they're supposed to. But later on, like after a year and a half, my wife came in, she sees me more fit. She's like, I'm coming in, I'm sore and all that. She goes, "Are you fighting again? Are you fighting?" I was like, "Yeah, I am. I've been fighting for almost a year and a half. I'm fighting MMA people. I'm fighting boxers. I'm fighting kickboxers. You know what I mean? I'm fighting. I'm using, I'm back again, the way I used to be. But I'm 10 times better than I was when I was 20.
Right.
And 30. I'm 43 now. I'm way better than I would kick the shit out of Ronny.
Yep.
I would kick the shit out of a 20-year-old Ronny and a 30-year-old Ronny. Easy.
But you
Easy.
know what? Here's the thing. And because I've thought about that too. I was like, if I had seen me when I was 25, I'd have beat the hell out of me. But at my 25-year-old go, your old ass is going to get me.
I know, but I better be careful. I don't want to do a time travel, get my ass whooped. I know a 23-year-old running like, right, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'd have to put my 25-year-old ass in check, and then I'd be defeated. I'd be like, damn, that old man just whooped my ass. Well, that's one of the great things about seeing Bree now, because we can follow her career. We can watch her as she evolves and becomes a better and better fighter, and that's exactly what's going to happen with her. So I'm excited to see where your career goes. I'm excited to see where you go. You have such a great positive mindset. I love that, because it's so rare nowadays. Everybody's a victim. Everybody's makes excuses. And so when I get to meet someone like you, especially someone like you who's so young, and you get it already, it's just a pleasure to watch, and it's a pleasure to meet someone like you. So I'm so glad that you took the time to come on the show and be with us and share your experiences and your goals with us, because it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there and go, I want to be UFC champ, because people are going to be listening to this go, hey, what happened to that girl want to be UFC champ? Yeah. Where's she at? And you don't want to be like,
it's going to happen.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Anything before we go?
I'm going to say one more thing. It was something that you would know too, because we know Muhammad Ali. You've seen him fight, and you always remember when Muhammad Ali had a big group with him, right?
Right.
He had his hype man. He had his photographers. He had his trainers. He always had a big group with him. The people that were with him were that circle that he needed to function when he fought. You know what I mean? So when we were waiting in this before her Muay Thai fight, I'm sitting there. I see my trainers. I see some of the friends showing up, the circle, and then I see Doug show up. He's a photographer, and Doug's snapping beautiful pictures the whole time, and that clicked in my head. I was like, shit, this reminded me when Muhammad Ali was fighting. That he was surrounded by a big group of positive people who believed in him, that he's going to be champion of the world. You know what I mean? So that's the same vibe I get. She would be champion.
You know what? Because I think she understands. Again, I know she does, because she said it. She understands too that Muhammad Ali, said, when people see you as world champ, all they see is all the lights and the glory and all that. They don't see that you up before the sun rises, out putting your work in and doing what you need to do to get done. Right. They don't see any of that.
Right.
And so they think, oh, it's just you're just there.
Yeah.
And it don't happen like that. If you don't put the work in, you ain't getting there.
And it's not pretty. It's not easy.
No, there's nothing worse than being beat because you're out of shape.
Exactly. Yeah. Or hurt.
I don't care if someone beats me because they're better, but if they beat me because I'm sucking wind, that's on me.
That's on you.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah, you beat yourself and they beat you.
Exactly.
You lost twice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No,
you only need to do that once, and you go, I'm not going to let that happen again.
No.
Fortunately, I fought in the heavyweight division. They're all out of shape, so I didn't care.
Yeah.
They're done after the first round.
Yeah, they're like, they're looking for the haymakers. They figure they're going to take you out in the first round. When they don't, they're sucking wind, and then they're easy after that.
Well, you won your first fight. I remember you won your first fight. Your first MMA fight.
I was 50 years old. He was 25.
Yeah.
He was 6'6", and he outweighed me by 30 pounds.
Whew.
And I put a hurting on the boy. But to be honest with you, I realized that the fights that I was in, I never fought the way I really fight. Like, I was too focused on doing what I was taught, and so I wasn't doing what was natural. Because if I had done what was natural, I would have taken these guys out. But I was too busy trying to do what I was taught to do. Yeah. And so I was like, if I ever do this again, I'll do what I'll do what I'm taught when it's needed.
Needed.
Yeah.
You're supposed to use your wrestling.
Right, exactly.
That's your power. That's you.
Right.
That's Kurt. And then you use whatever techniques with that wrestling that when it's there, you use it right away.
The thing is that I knew I could beat anybody with my wrestling. But so one time, this guy who I fought, I forget where he's from, he's acting like he wants to throw hands. I'm like, let's throw hands. I've never had a chance to throw hands. Let's throw hands. As soon as I throw one, I threw it terribly. And then he tackles me. which I was completely because I just wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, you thought he was gonna throw hands.
Right, and so I was like, I'll be damned.
Well,
I got tricked.
Yeah.
But then no one's ever taken me down except that guy.
Yeah,
and it was
he's
because,
a big boy though. I
But
remember.
he shouldn't have taken me down. My foot and Tim and I will argue to this till the day I die. But my foot got caught on the mat because the mat was loose. And so when I went to sprawl, my foot got caught, and I didn't get to spread my legs out.
Yeah.
And so he actually was able to take me down, which he should never be able to do. And he was a big guy, but
He was big,
I
man.
beat myself like I always do when it's a big guy.
That guy was huge, bro.
I always beat myself. I could have beaten him. I know I could have. And I lost that fight. Should have never lost it. I lost it in my head before. And what happens is every time I fight someone like him, the second time I come back, I whoop their ass. Because whatever reason, whatever block I have in my head, I go, oh, he's nothing. I can take him now. But I have to go through it first to realize that.
Yeah.
So don't be like me. Don't be like me. Well, Bree, Ronny, thank you again. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure. I look forward to having you back on. Let's keep me up to date with your fights, and when you have them coming up, I'll make sure people know about them, and we'll put it out there on the podcast. And if people in the area who are MMA fans want to go see you fight, we'll get you a little fan base going.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
man.
Gotta come up with a name for them.
What's that for her?
For fans. Yeah,
a nickname.
Yeah, no, like the nickname for their fans. The Believers for
Believers.
Tiger Cubs.
Tiger Cubs. There you
Tiger
go.
Cubs. There you go.
Tiger Cubs. That was a good one.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again, and folks, thanks for joining us as usual. And that'll be the show for today. So until next time, take care, be safe, and I guess you don't have to wear your mask anymore. So don't worry about it. Take care. Bye.